On a sweltering July morning in 1996, construction workers in Knoxville, Tennessee, stumbled upon a shocking scene that would soon grip the city in mystery and confusion. In a dusty, unfinished parking lot lay the body of a man, half naked, his pants and shoes removed, exposed to the harsh summer sun. The scene was eerily quiet, as if time itself had paused in shock. Scattered around him, thousands in cash, American, Canadian, German, and a fanny pack brimming with gold bars, platinum coins, and jewelry. The sheer amount of wealth was staggering, almost surreal for such a desolate place. Nothing was stolen. Robbery wasn't the motive. The valuables were left untouched, as if whoever was here wanted to make a point. The valuables were untouched, almost displayed, as if to send a message no one could decipher. It was as if the scene had been staged for maximum effect, a puzzle with no clear solution. The victim was Robert Dennis Blair Adams, a 32-year-old from British Columbia, Canada, thousands of miles from home, with no known ties to Knoxville. He had traveled a long, winding route to get here, crossing borders and changing plans. Why was he here? Why leave a fortune behind? What could have driven him to such a desperate end, so far from everything familiar? The scene was methodical, almost ritualistic. One shoe was placed under his head like a pillow, a strange gesture that only deepened the sense of mystery. Police were baffled. The evidence pointed everywhere and nowhere, offering more questions than answers at every turn. The gold and cash, meant to protect him, only deepened the mystery, transforming the crime scene into a riddle that defied logic. Blair Adams had been running from something, convinced someone wanted him dead. His paranoia had grown in the days before his death, and he told friends he feared for his life. His desperate journey ended here, but the threat he feared remained a ghost, unseen, unnamed, and still haunting the empty lot. The treasure he carried failed to save him, leaving only questions in its wake. The answers, if they exist, are buried deep within the shadows of that morning. This was just the beginning of a case that would haunt investigators for decades, a mystery that continues to baffle and disturb all who encounter it. Just weeks before his death, Blair Adams seemed stable, a respected construction foreman, 2 years sober, active in AA. To those who knew him, he was a man who had worked hard to rebuild his life, earning trust and respect from his colleagues and friends. He was known for his reliability and his quiet determination to stay on the right path. But in early July 1996, paranoia gripped him. It was as if a switch had flipped overnight, and suddenly Blair was convinced that something or someone was out to get him. He told friends and family he was in danger, but never said from whom. The details were always vague, his explanations fragmented, leaving those close to him confused and deeply concerned. He believed someone was spreading rumors, trying to ruin him, or worse, kill him. The threat felt personal, targeted, and relentless, even if no one else could see it. The fear was sudden and overwhelming, dictating his every move. It seeped into every aspect of his life, making even ordinary moments feel dangerous. He abruptly quit his job, leaving without notice or his final paycheck. He didn't even stop to explain, simply walked away from the stability he'd fought so hard to achieve. For a responsible man, this was a drastic, alarming shift. His co-workers were left stunned, unable to make sense of his sudden departure. On July 5th, he emptied his bank account and safety deposit box, cash, gold, platinum, jewelry, all packed into a fanny pack and duffel bag. It was as if he was preparing for a journey with no return. He was liquidating his life, preparing to run. Every action suggested he believed escape was his only option. Friends tried to reason with him, but his terror was unshakable. No amount of reassurance could calm his growing panic. He wasn't arming himself with weapons, but with wealth, hoping money could buy safety. It was a desperate attempt to control a situation that felt completely out of his hands. Adams was convinced he had to disappear, and he was willing to leave everything behind to do it. The life he'd built no longer felt safe or worth holding on to. The paranoia that consumed him would soon propel him on a frantic cross-continental escape. He was running not just from a threat, but from the very shadows of his own mind. Whatever he feared, it was more real to him than anything else. The terror was all-consuming, leaving no room for doubt or hesitation, and it was about to drive him far from home, setting in motion a mystery that would haunt everyone he left behind. With his fortune in tow, Blair Adams tried to flee Canada for the U.S. On July 5th, he drove to Victoria, BC, aiming for a ferry to Seattle. But U.S. border agents, suspicious of his cash and nervousness, denied him entry. Undeterred, Adams tried again days later, this time on foot at a different crossing. He was detained, questioned about fresh scratches and a nearby car theft, but released for lack of evidence. His desperation grew. He abandoned his car at Vancouver Airport, rented a Nissan Altima, and finally crossed the border. In Seattle, he ditched the rental, bought a pricey one-way ticket to Washington, D.C., a city where he knew no one. He was moving fast, changing cars and cities, always looking over his shoulder. There was no clear plan, just a frantic need to keep moving. Adams was now a ghost in his own life, shedding his identity with every mile. His journey was erratic, his fear relentless. He was running from a threat only he could see, and he was about to vanish into the American South. The chase was far from over. Adams landed in D.C. on July 10th, but didn't stop. He barely paused to take in the city, moving with a restless urgency that no one could quite explain. He rented a Toyota Camry and drove south. Destination, Knoxville, Tennessee. The miles ticked by as he sped down the highway, his mind racing just as fast. He had no ties to Knoxville. The choice made no sense. Friends and family would later wonder why he picked this city, a place where he knew no one. By late afternoon, he pulled into a gas station outside the city, agitated and confused. He seemed lost, both physically and mentally, as if searching for something he couldn't name. His rental car wouldn't start. He insisted he had the wrong key, later found to be from the Nissan he'd left in Seattle. The mix-up only deepened the mystery. The attendant called a tow truck. The driver recalled Adams' paranoia. He believed people were after him. His fear was palpable, his words frantic and disjointed. Instead of a mechanic, Adams asked to be dropped at a Fairfield Inn hotel. He seemed desperate for shelter, for a place to hide. He was unraveling, his mind clouded by fear and confusion. Alone in his room, he struggled to calm his racing thoughts. The journey had taken its toll. He was exhausted, disoriented, and alone. Every mile seemed to push him further from clarity. The hotel was supposed to be a refuge, but Adams couldn't find peace. The walls felt like they were closing in, offering no comfort. He was so close to safety, yet unable to grasp it. The city outside was silent, indifferent to his struggle. The final hours of his life would be marked by even stranger behavior. Each moment, his actions grew more erratic, more desperate. Knoxville was the end of the road, but the mystery was just beginning. The city held no answers, only more questions. Adams had traveled thousands of miles, only to find himself lost in a city of strangers. His journey, so full of urgency, had led him to isolation. The pieces of his tragic puzzle were falling into place. Each clue hinted at a deeper turmoil beneath the surface, but the picture made no sense. The answers remained just out of reach, shrouded in confusion and sorrow. At the Fairfield Inn, Adams's paranoia was on full display. Security cameras caught him pacing the lobby, entering and exiting 5 times in 40 minutes. He paid cash for a room, but never went upstairs. He left his change on the counter, as if money no longer mattered. He asked the clerk unsettling questions. "Are you alone?" and scanned the lobby, searching for someone or something. Each time he left, he wandered the parking lot, circling his disabled car. The room he paid for remained empty. He couldn't bring himself to use it. The last footage shows him leaving the lobby for good just before 8 p.m. He walked into the Tennessee night, fanny pack in hand, heading toward the construction site across the highway. He was walking straight into the unknown and his death. At dawn on July 11th, construction workers found Blair Adams's body in a secluded lot across from the Fairfield Inn. He was partially nude, his pants, socks, and shoes removed and placed nearby. One shoe was under his head, his valuables scattered around him: gold, platinum, jewelry, and cash in multiple currencies. The total value about $4,000. Nothing was taken. Police quickly ruled out robbery. A security guard reported hearing a scream around 3:30 a.m., possibly from a woman, but didn't investigate. The crime scene offered few clues. No murder weapon, no clear footprints or tire tracks. The most significant evidence was a single long strand of dark hair clutched in Adams's hand. It wasn't his. The struggle had left the ground disturbed, but little else. The valuables he'd carried for protection were left untouched. The only physical link to his killer was that strand of hair. The rest was confusion and contradiction. The mystery had only deepened. The autopsy revealed Adams died from septic shock after a violent blow ruptured his stomach, a slow, agonizing death. The injury suggested a powerful kick or strike with a blunt object. Cuts and abrasions showed he fought back. His pants were removed, raising the possibility of a sexual assault, but no conclusive DNA evidence was found. Toxicology showed no drugs or alcohol. His paranoia was not chemically induced. He'd eaten lettuce, meat, and shrimp before his death, but where remains unknown. The key to his rental car, once lost, was found near his body. The details were maddening. Clues that should have led to answers only created more questions. The case was a puzzle with missing pieces. The truth remained out of reach. With few leads, investigators chased theories. 1. Adams solicited a prostitute near the truck stop, and a robbery turned violent. Another, he suffered a psychotic break, fleeing a threat that existed only in his mind, and died in a random encounter. Or maybe the danger was real. Criminal ties in Canada, a debt, or a secret that followed him to Tennessee. The untouched money could have been a message. This wasn't about greed. Some believe it was a tragic misunderstanding. Adams, paranoid, provoked a fatal confrontation. Each theory fits some facts, but none explain everything. The case is a vacuum, filled with speculation and contradiction. Every answer leads to more questions. The truth remains elusive, and the mystery endures. Decades later, Blair Adams's case remains unsolved. A haunting cold case in Tennessee. The single strand of hair sits in evidence, waiting for a match. National attention brought tips, but no breakthroughs. Investigators chased every angle: crime, mental illness, even the theory he was headed to the 1996 Atlanta Olympics. Every lead grew cold, every theory clashed with the facts. Adams's story is a collection of paradoxes, a man in mortal fear, dying among strangers, his fortune untouched. It's a locked room mystery without the locked room. Sometimes the truth is more elusive than fiction. For now, Blair Adams remains a ghost, his story a warning, his questions unanswered. The hope for resolution lingers, waiting for the day someone finally comes forward.